Welcome back to another Bit Legends video. Today we're going to talk about the talents for the Kung Fu Master. So in the previous video we talked about Bounty Hunter, and now let's get into the Master of Kung Fu. So you see the tree over here, the top line goes straight across, the bottom line goes straight across, with the exception of the last skill, so try to keep that in mind as we run through these. There are a lot of cool little tricks, and I think you can put some good builds together with this. There's one skill that I'm very interested about, but we'll kind of get to that when we get to it. So I definitely think that Kung Fu is viable. You can do it as a tank, you can do it as a DPS. Just because I'm not Kung Fu Master, a lot of people think that maybe the other classes aren't worth doing, and that's definitely not the case. The people that went Kung Fu are typically really happy about it. So at least that's what they say in the Discord. So here we go. In the first tier, we've got hit points. And we've got block down here. Block is very valuable. Most of the tanks are heading towards a block build. And here you'll notice that the block only goes up to 5%. That's because it's in the first talent row. And there's another talent down in a further tree that goes to 10% as well. So you can actually get 15% block here total, but we'll get there when we get there. Hit point leech. I'm not a big fan of hit point leech because as a tank, let's say a big attack is coming and it's going to one-shot you. You need a bunch of damage reduction or block or dodge or whatever you're using to survive the attack. If you don't survive the attack, then you can't attack to use your leech to heal yourself back up. So focusing on leech as a build never is successful in games like this that are turn-based. And that's why you see familiars that have their only bonus is leech. They never get used. I will say leech is more important in a game like this because you are getting less heals from the pet, and we don't really have a healer class that looks super viable right now. And I'm saying that because there's not a really exciting healer weapon that has been discovered. So if you have some leech, great. It helps more than you'd expect, but I wouldn't put a build around it. And then if we drop down to the second tier, rebirth, restore 1% hit points, and you max at 10, so you get 15% in each round. So each time you get a turn. If you want to be a speed tank or speed bait and stack this, that's significant healing. So I like rebirth a lot more than blood sucking, because this is significant. Like I said, you're getting less heals from your pet. This is really going to come into play, at least what the meta looks like so far. Going over and looking at laceration, let's make it a little bit bigger. Laceration, each action increases self-crit by 3% up to 30. So this is a great bonus for a DPS, even though the other talents in the tree are not DPS oriented. But as a tank, definitely doing crits is great. Maybe you're going to crit on yourself, heal, or something like that. I'm not complaining about it. But I kind of wish this was like in a DPS-focused tree. But either way, there it is. And then you have dodge. So this one, if you max it, you get 5% dodge there, no problem. And then in the bottom row, absorb. That'll go up to 2.5%. Because absorb means when you take a hit that would damage you, it's actually going to go into your shield and not damage you, in case you don't know what absorb does. And then in the last row, flash grenades, usable twice in each battle. Like I talked about in the previous video, I believe each battle is each individual fight, not the entire dungeon. So each individual fight, you should be able to use this twice. SP cost is about half your bar. Deals 60% of attack damage to all enemies. So that's pretty much on par. That's slightly more than a typical familiar attack all skill. Some following attacks by enemies will be dodged. So currently right now we don't have any sort of redirect. So right now this is one of the only ways that you can protect your teammates. And so I could see this being useful on a tank. I could see this being useful on a DPS player. And if you want maybe you don't like your weapon skills, it's kind of nice to have this. You can use it twice each battle to burn off some SP. But like I said, this entire tree to me seems more tanky than it does more DPS. And that's my only main criticism of Kung Fu. But let's look down at the bottom talent, strength and physique. Damage reduction, if you max this up to 10 times, 15% damage reduction. Now we're talking. Now that's really exciting. And then also it does, I believe this is minus damage at the bottom. So I see a little minus sign in front of that. Unless that is a typo, it could be a typo, but I'm just going to assume that it is not. You're losing 5% damage if you max this. As a tank, I would absolutely give up 5% damage to gain 15% damage reduction. This is huge, and Strength and Physique makes this entire line viable. Because as your tank, you're getting block, you're getting healing each turn, absorb, dodge if you go there, and then boom, you're getting a ton of damage reduction at the cost of just a little bit of damage. No problem. Due to previous experience, minus damage means that your pet heal will do less, but I mean, it's definitely worth it. A little 5% there. Let's scroll on down. So now we're going to take a look at the second tree in the Kung Fu Master line. This is weapon, so here's the tree. First line doesn't really mean anything. I don't even know why there's a white line there at all, because it doesn't do anything. Same thing for the second. And then the bottom line goes straight through, so that's what you need to do if you want to talent up here. And here we go. So first tier, you're getting damage that goes up to 5%. Crit damage, that's going to go up to 30%. And then if you go up to the top, damage for the first attack in each battle, that's going to go up to 30. So this is really, really, really good. Let's say you've got a very strong team and each character on your team is only getting the chance to attack once anyways. That means you're getting 30% right on there. So each battle, there we go. Also, it's very comforting to see them use the term each battle again. So that kind of implies that when they use that term, it is each individual fight. And that's significant for those apparently one-use skills. All right, down in the third row, Impulse. SP gets this goes up to 30% chance to increase by 10. So I believe that means each turn you have a chance to gain, 30% chance to gain SP. I think this is a good talent if you're here, but I do think this is inferior to the SP talents that we saw in Bounty Hunter. So if I had an opportunity to get this, I would. I just think the other ones are significantly better. But it's viable. It's viable. I'm not hating. Up to the top. Crit goes a 10, so plus 10% crit when using melee weapons as your main hand and as your offhand. So there's a little bit of class flavor. The Kung Fu Master is supposed to prefer melee weapons, and here you go. 10% damage, but you have to wear it in your main hand and in your offhand. So I do like the class flavor. And then here's shield. So you got a 5% block talent in the first tree in the first row. Here, if you're wearing a shield as your offhand weapon, you can get up to 10% block. I like that a lot. And then down here, crit damage increase based on the rarity of main hand and offhand weapons. So you can see it right there, common, blah, blah, blah. So legend is going to give you 16%. Sets and myths are going to give you 20%. Does this mean that you're getting that percentage for each weapon? So if you have a main hand mythic, you're getting 20, and an offhand mythic, you're getting 20. That's the way I read this. Let me know if you disagree, but that's pretty cool. 20% crit damage, that's juicy. Stack this with a crit build. You can kind of see where it's going there. And then at the bottom row, hopefully you guys can see that. Briskness, you're getting damage, you're getting hit points and speed. So you can max this up and get 2.5, 2.5, 2.5%. And not super game breaking for being so far back in the tree. Let's look at the tree real quick. So you're in the fourth row for this one. I'm not complaining about it. Obviously, no problems there. But, you know, I wanted to see something a little bit more juicy at the fourth row. However, if you want to talk about juiciness, the fifth row, Sword Rain, this might be the most broken skill in the entire game, and I'll tell you why. Usable only once in each battle, so that's a little bit refreshing. It's going to cost 40 SP. I think that is your whole bar. I think the whole bar is 40 SP, but again, if that's wrong, feel free to make fun of me. Summon the sword, knife, spear, battle axe, and other weapons to attack the targeted enemy, dealing 400 holy damage of attack power. So first off, this is the first time I've ever seen holy damage, and again, I don't exactly know how damage types work in this game, but look, ignoring damage reduction and block. Let's read that again. Ignoring damage reduction and block. Holy smokes. If we're talking GVG, this is terrifying. If we're talking PvP, this is terrifying. In PvP, there's only one player character, so there's only one chance that the guy can do this. But if he completely one-shots your tank, that's scary. Ignores not only damage reduction, but it also ignores block. That's crazy. I don't know if it's intended to ignore all defensive bonuses, or would deflect still work, would dodge and absorb still work. Hopefully they would, and that would kind of give a little bit more lean towards those variety builds. but this is terrifying. This could be just a complete one-shot of the tank. Now, if we're talking GVG, would the autopilot use these? Would the autopilot use these kind of skills? I don't know. But man, ignore, damage reduction, and block. That is crazy. Now, I don't think you're going to see a ton of this, especially not now. Nobody's this far. Nobody's at tier 5 in their talents, at least nobody that I know. So you don't have to worry about this for a while. It's kind of niche. GVG is a small piece of the game. Even PvP in the arena is a small piece of the game, but still, that's amazing. And I wonder how if this is going to be really awesome in World Boss or other things like that. Sword Rain. I mean, that makes the whole video. Look at that. That makes Kung Fu crazy right there. Let us continue. All right, last one. Pilgrimage. There is the tree. So the green goes straight across at the top, and then there's a gap, and then it goes straight across again, so pay attention to that. The second row straight across, and then the bottom row, look at that. So the first one is not attached in the tier 2, and then tier 3 and 5 are connected. So pay attention to that. Again, this picture, why did I flip that? Can I fix it? Oh my goodness. Hey, we fixed it. There we go. We're a genius. All right. So, look at that. Keep looking at it. All right, let's move on. Healing effect. So, I'm assuming this is helpful to the healing that you give and the healing you receive, but not confirmed. Self-cultivation, hit points and damage. So if you max it up to 10%, that'll be 2.5 and 2.5 hit points and damage. Going into the second row, recharge shield each round. So that is really, really nice. I wouldn't say it's not going to make your build or break your build, but we've had these kind of effects before, and yeah, no problems there. So you max it as 5%. You're getting 5% shield each round, and if you're a DPS player, that means you might have a lot of agility, you might have a lot of turn rate. You're getting a lot of turns in, so this could just keep you safe. And like I said, there is no redirect in this game, so it looks like DPS might need to be able to keep themselves safe, and this skill might do it. Also, if you're tank as well, of course, no problems there. And then damage reduction, so that you max that at 5% in the bottom, and then up in the third tier. So element resistance, max it goes up to 10%. We don't exactly know how damage types and elements and resists and things like that work. I'll probably do a video on that as soon as that is clarified. Maybe we can data mine some of the math. So this talent could be a really big deal, or maybe not. We'll figure it out. Speed, if you're a DPS, obviously it's a great choice. And then check this one out. If you want to go a healing build and you want to do Kung Fu, Satisfaction Sanctification will give you a lot of satisfaction. We'll go with that. Smooth save there. But yeah, so if you want to go healing build or maybe even tank if it works with pets, let's read it. This is exciting. So when healing self, other allies will be healed with 50% of self-healing. So I'm going to assume that self-healing does not include pets. If it does, this becomes insane. For a tank player that can snag this, you're getting a ton of heals off your pets, and then that should just keep your team pumped. That would be broken if it works, so I don't think it does. But this one, when healing self, other allies will be healed. This could be a lot of healing. This could be the strongest healing skill in the game right now. So if anybody is brave enough to go this line, that's pretty exciting. And then here, diversion. So if you max it, you're going to get 3.5% diversion. That is the ability for you to reflect and attack at you, back at the attacker. Pretty exciting there. And then here we go, emergency shield. This is actually in the 5th tier, usable once for each battle. You've got to spend 50 points to get this thing. SP cost is 0. Take a look at that. SP cost is 0. It's free, fellas. It's free. Provide 30% shield for all allies. So if you're a healer, that's exciting. If you're a tank, that's exciting. If you are a DPS player, that's pretty juicy right there. 30% shield. You can throw it at the beginning of each battle or whenever you're low on shields or whatnot. 0 SP cost. That's very exciting. That's very strong support. I like it. So I like Kung Fu. I am a bounty hunter and I plan on staying a bounty hunter, but my only gripe with Kung Fu is that the talents don't seem organized in the way that I like. There's not a clear tank tree. There's not a clear DPS tree. There's not a clear support tree or anything like that. It's kind of all over the place. So when you put together a build, I feel like it's going to be a little bit wonky, but there's some exciting things here. You can get a ton of damage reduction out of this. You can get a good amount of block. Sword Rain is probably going to be known as Sword Bane. Let's see if I can make it any bigger. I keep screwing up the picture. That skill might just be straight busted in GVG. You might just be one-shotting the biggest tanks. I mean, you put a crit on this thing, you put a strike on this thing. That's terrifying. Yeah, that could possibly one-shot a tank. And we don't know if the AI is going to use the skill or not, or the autopilot, but this is what you guys want to be thinking about. And then down here, you got some cool stuff. If you're healing yourself, you're healing your team 50%, that might keep everybody topped up, which might allow you to take another healer off of your team and put another DPS there. It might allow you to take another tank off your team and put a DPS there, something like that. So even though a skill is healing, if it increases your team DPS by your composition, that's a massive DPS boost. And then over here, Emergency Shield. So pretty juicy. I like it. That is Kung Fu. And next up, you guessed it, it's going to be Engineer. So appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.